Hey everybody, welcome back to another tutorial for the EGG202 C# WinForms. So this is going to be a video specifically for our Lab 7, and this might be our last lab actually for the semester based on sort of time constraints. There'll be some holidays coming up, so this could be the last lab actually, but I'm going to first I'm going to demo the program you want to write. And then I'm going to go over just some basics for how to get started with this. So of course the write-up I have given to you does give you some starting point, but this video might be a nice interactive way of being able to begin writing this project. So let's go ahead and go over a demo for this lab. So here's the memory game sort of application. So I'm running the exe file for this program. So I could probably give you the exe file, although you won't be able to run it in the class, but I suppose you'll be able to run it on your own personal machine just to sort of test this out. So I will link this into the lab write-up. So right now it's an empty sort of form or empty sort of game right now. I have a checkbox over here, which is actually very simple to implement a checkbox. I could also maybe add some content to our video on this, but anyway, I'm going to click on this checkbox. So it's going to be in debug mode, which means that the cards are not going to be arranged in any kind of random order. They'll be deterministically assigned. So it's easier for testing purposes. I'll click on New Game, and the cards will all just appear. And you notice that the New Game and debug mode has been now disabled, these two, because we are now in a current game. So the way the game is going to be played is I'm going to click on a card and turns the card over. So it has 2 of spades. And the memory game, the way it works, I have to try to pick a card somewhere here that matches 2 of spades. And if I find it, it's going to disappear from this form. I'm going to first, I already know where all my cards are. I have them arranged nicely just for debugging mode. But I'm going to go ahead and click over here on this card. That's not a match. It'll wait for a few seconds and it's going to disappear. Let's try this again. If I click over here and click on this, then I can't click on any of the other cards in the meantime. So the way it's set up is that it disables the game temporarily, but shows for 2 seconds the 2 cards. So the whole purpose is you have to remember where the card is next time in order to win. I'm going to click over here for a second and, oh, I see a 2 of spades. So I think the 2 of spades was here earlier. I'm going to click over there and it's going to make them disappear after 2 seconds because I just matched those 2. So the classic memory game, if you ever had a chance to play this when you were a kid, goes like that. So in my debug mode, it's pretty simple. I have it where it just is arranged nicely, so it's easy to sort of win this. I just did it just for testing purposes. So of course, you don't really have to even have this check if you don't want to. I just put that there just because, just to make it easier for debugging purposes. So you can find some other way. You can have a different method, maybe a radio button or so you can use to. But it's good to have some debugging mode possibilities, so it's easy to like test your code out. So it looks like it's working, at least on my end over here. And then of course you have our ace of spades at the very end, and then it pops up and says you went using that message box. So I'm going to click on this. The game is over, so I'm going to now uncheck my debug mode and hit New Game. So now the cards will be arranged differently. So I think so at least. So now I click over here, it's 3 of spades. So let's try to find 3 of spades somewhere. I'm going to play this game and see what happens. So these are not a match. So it displays those 2 cards for about 2 seconds and it will flip them back to where they were. And during that time you can't click on anything because all the cards will be disabled, their events, while we have 2 cards being displayed. So I'm going to go ahead and click over here, ace of spades. So it's going to keep it open until I click on a different card. I click over here. It's not a match. It'll pause and then it's going to flip them back to where they were. And during that time, if I go ahead and click on these again, I won't be able to play. I clicked on those 4 cards, but it wasn't allowing me to do anything because it disables all the picture boxes once I have this open. So let's go ahead and I'm going to try to win this game. I don't know where all the cards are. It's going to be tough to play. So wait, I think I saw ace of spades earlier. I'm not sure where though. Oh, there, I think. So here was the ace of spades right there. So I found a match right there. That's not a match. Wait, I think I read 6 being over there. Perfect. So okay, I got that. So wait, so 2 of club, so 2 of spades. Okay, it's queen. Okay, jack. I thought I saw 3 earlier somewhere. Now that was a 2. Okay. Okay, these 2 were a match. Okay, awesome. So I'm progressing. So in this version with no debug mode, it's going to be random, so it makes the game quote unquote more fun, whatever that means. I think the king was over here earlier. Yeah, okay, cool. So I got that. No, that's a jack. Okay, so I don't remember flipping a 10 over yet. Maybe it's over here. I think I saw, yeah, I think I remember that. This is kind of boring, so I'm going to finish this game off and I'm going to go ahead and go into the coding part. I'm having way too much fun playing this game right now. It's the reason why I'm delaying this video. Look how much fun I'm having. This is fun. Well, the fun part is when it actually works, it's actually kind of cool. But, you know, getting it to work, though, is obviously a challenge. That's why it's going to be a couple of weeks we'll have for this project. So that way you don't have to feel rushed with this. Okay, I'm getting there, so, all right. Oh, wait, I think the queen was over here. Yeah, that's where the queen was, okay. And, okay, so it's got to be maybe these 2. All right, and then, of course, last but not least, got the last 2 5s. Perfect. So there we go. That's how the game is played. So I'm going to go over the details. So the write-up has details on this as well, but I'll go over how to just set this game up just to help you get started on this lab. All right, so let's go back to our designer and try to implement this game. So of course, I could of course resize the form. I'm going to, I guess I'll resize it a little bit like that. So the first thing I did was I changed the background color. This is not really too important or hard to do, but I guess I can sort of quickly cover that right here. So I click on the form. We have the properties window at the very side as always, and yeah, fine. Where is that? Let's see, it's gotta be a colors sort of property. Back color, I think that's the one. I think that's it. So I'm going to click on custom. That's a little too bright for me. I think I'm going to go with maybe dark green. Yeah, I think mine wasn't dark green on mine, but I think I'm going to go with dark green here because I guess darker green is always nicer. I'm more accustomed to darker themed stuff. So, all right, so that's how we have the colors set up. It's nothing too fancy just yet. And now in this game, we had those sort of images loaded into those areas when we play the game. So we're going to have to go to our toolbox and select picture box. Let's see, where is it? There it is, picture box. I'm going to drag that and drop that in here. I'm going to format this to be a little bit more card shaped. So I think maybe like this. I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to right click and then I'm just going to Control C, Control V to copy and paste. So on the keyboard, Control C and then Control V. You know, I'll do it a couple of times. Let's have maybe 4 cards. I'll put them together like that. So we have 4 image boxes. And I'm going to give these a very nice name just because it'll be very easy to locate them when I'm trying to load these into my array. So you're going to have a 2-dimensional array in your version for the game, but I'll go over just a 1D version because it's, I mean, we did the tic-tac-toe game last week and it's not a whole lot different really. So I'll just go with a 1D array. So I'm going to click on the image box, sorry, picture box. I guess maybe picture box 1, picture box, oops. I guess I really want to have picture box 2 right over here. Actually, I'm going to go and swap these out. So picture box 2, I guess that's a good enough name. I mean, you want to give it a better name, but make sure you have a number. You number each one accordingly. So I would suggest use row and column numbers. So maybe if you have like a 4x, or sorry, I think it's going to be, I think a 4x5 sort of grid, I guess, which I had in the memory game. You may want to sort of give like the 2 numbers here. So one for the row and column index. So it's very simple to ID that image or picture box on your form. So for now, I think picture box 1, 2, 3, and 4 is a good enough name. Okay, so we have that so far. So now we have to go ahead and we have to add these images to our picture boxes. So to do that, we're going to have to add some content to our resources file. So let me go to my folder here. So I'm going to go over here. I actually don't have the image, so I'm going to go ahead and just sort of copy these over here just to make things easier. Let's see. I'm going to try to not load the solution here because that would really make this program not much fun to actually write. So I'm going to go ahead and here's my card files. I'm not going to cite all of these, obviously. I'll pick a few. So I think I'll just pick the aces for right now, just because. So we have 4 aces displayed. And I'm going to select, I guess I'm going to go ahead and cite the red back again. I'm going to right click, I'm going to copy and paste that. I don't have to copy and paste it here, but I'm going to just to kind of keep everything within this one folder. So I have video codes where I have it, and I go to images. I'm going to make a new folder here. I'm going to call this just cards for right now. And put these in here. Doesn't matter where we actually put them, but I'll just put them here just for right now. Okay, so we have to make it so these images will load on my form. So the first thing I have to do is I have to basically go to my resources file on WinForms. So let's go to, try to find this if I can. Let's see, it's always a pain to find these. There you go, resources.resx. I'm gonna double click on that. Opens up this, this screen. So I'm going to go to my cards. I'm going to just drag and drop them right in here. Then I'll save this. So now these are saved in my project. I'm also going to save my project as well. So these are now part of my project. So I can easily utilize these within my properties sort of setting or properties file or whatever you want to call this. So I'm going to go ahead now and now write the code. So on form load right now, I'm going to keep these blank. So I go ahead and start this. I'm going to first make a button actually, just to like also have it click a button. It's going to, put cards, I'm going to go ahead and just have this set up right now. So just because it's sort of similar to what we have in our program there. I'm going to have this text will be just, I'll call it start. And I'll call this BTN start. Like that. Okay, so now we have that set up. Now what I wanted to do is on a form load, so I'm going to double click on the form right here. On form load, I want to go ahead and be able to link these image boxes to an array of, these picture boxes to an array of picture boxes in my C# application. Let's go ahead and set that up. All right, so I already have this set up right here. So we're going to have our array of picture boxes, and we're going to have it set to a new array of size 4. And then we're going to also have this card ID as well in this application. So this card ID is going to allow us to know which card I want to display when I click on the back of a card. So this number is going to sort of help me know which card image I want to load into the picture box, and we'll see that all in a second. So just like in the tic-tac-toe lab from last week, or yeah, tic-tac-toe lab, we had to load each button into an element in this array. Well, same concept here, except we're going to be using picture boxes instead. So going back to our form, we noticed that we labeled our buttons picture box 1, picture box 2, picture box 3, and so forth. So we have a number for each one. So index 0 of our cards array, I want to store the reference of picture box 1, and for cards array index 1, I want to store picture box 2. This object, I want to store that reference into that array. So let's go ahead and sort of write the code that will do that. So I'm going to have a for loop. I'm going to try to make this a bit more indented nicely. There we go. So for int I equals 0, I less than 4. Actually, I could even say, I'll just say 4. I plus plus, like that. Then I'll say cards I equal, remember from last week, we have the this dot controls. I had to put the name. So I believe it was picture box plus I plus 1 dot toString. So we want to have picture box 1. So remember, the plus is going to concatenate two strings together. So picture box plus, and I is 0, so picture box plus 1. And this 1 is going to be converted to a string, so it's going to literally have the string picture box 1. And I increments by 1, then it'll be picture box 2, and so forth. It's going to load each one, and we have to, of course, typecast this into a picture box like that. So that's why that last number is important, that I know what the last number was, because I always know in my form, I use picture box 1, picture box 2 is that last number, the last character was that number. That's how I can sort of reference this in my program. So that's how I can access that object and put it into this array in this position. So it's always good to have the names in that kind of format, so we can easily just construct the name, because we know every single picture box for us will have this substring and then plus a number at the end. That's how we sort of grab the reference of that picture box. We're going to load it into this array just like that. So then what I'll do is I'm just going to now go back to my form 1 and double click on the start button. And I'm going to actually load that red back sort of image onto each picture box. So when this button when its start button is clicked, I'm going to do the following work. I'm going to say for int I equals 0, I less than 4, I plus plus. I'm going to say cards I dot image. So I want to load an image onto that picture box. And then what's going to happen is I'm going to go ahead and say properties dot resources dot, and look at this. This is ace of clubs, ace of diamonds, ace of hearts, ace of spades, and we have this red back. So this is now part of our resources file, so I can access each image by just saying properties dot resources dot what the image name was. Let's go to our resources file for a second so we can sort of look at that. So we have the names labeled, so AC, AD, AH, AS, and then redback. Those are how we can reference these cards in this file. So I'm going to just basically have it load that image to every single object on our form using a loop, because cards 0 is going to refer to this button, cards in next 1 is going to refer to this, not button, but this picture box, cards in next 2 is going to refer to this picture box, and cards in next 4 refers to that picture box. Okay, let's go ahead and start this. So right now it's all blank. If I hit start, it's going to display those images. It's going to display that red back. So I guess it did that, but the problem was that it's not to scale. Let's go ahead and also fix the scaling problem. So I'm going to go back over here. I guess I do it for each one of these. So let's see if I can. Oh, I remember how this works. So we're going to have to actually go over here. So I'm going to go back to my code for a second. And I'm going to put a block over here for this. So make a block for loop. Okay. We want to go ahead and add this attribute. So I'm going to say cards I dot size mode equals to picture box size mode, picture box size. Okay, how does redo this? Picture box size mode dot stretch image. So that's going to, this is going to first load the reference of that picture box into my array, and this is going to just set it where it's going to scale the image correctly. Let's go ahead and try this now. And there's our images. So we have them so far set. So we can set the image by just simply saying cards index I dot image equals some image we can do. And this is going to set the image of this picture box or this cards array, which is going to be a picture box object. So I'm now going to go ahead and actually assign some type of ID to each of these. So when you click on this, it's going to display the card underneath. Let's go ahead and work on this next. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and just close the program here, and I'm going to go ahead and now I'm going to sort of also add I'm going to actually add a card ID to each one of these. Okay, perfect. So basically we have 4 different cards. So I'm going to have an ID for each one of them. So just to make things simple, I guess I could, I'll make this simple and use just sort of the deterministic way of doing this for now. I'll also use random numbers later on. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and I'll first go ahead and actually just put these here the normal way, and I'm going to use random numbers to actually sort of move them around a bit. So I'm going to, I'm going to assign a card ID. So card ID index I will just be I plus 1. So card ID 0 will be containing a 1. So I guess 1 will refer to, let me just do this. So I guess card 1 will be ace of clubs, card 2 will be ace of diamonds, card 3 will be ace of hearts, and card 4 will be ace of spades. That's how I'm going to ID these cards. So going back over here, I have that set up. So now what I want to do is I want to create sort of an event that's going to actually display a card. So I want to have a click event set up for this what's it called, for this program. I want to have it display a card. So I'm going to have a private member for right now. So private void. I'm going to say just clicked on card. And of course, object sender event args e, just like that. So what's going to happen is, well, I'm going to turn a card basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have another function I'm going to create just to make this very easy for me. So I'm going to create a function that's going to be private int get card by ID int ID. So actually, I made a mistake. It's supposed to return image object. So I want this function, I'm going to pass an ID. So let's say if I pass in 1 into this function, then return the image ace of clubs. If 2 is passed in, return ace of diamonds. If 3 and 4, you get the idea. So I'm going to have a switch statement. So switch ID. I'm going to first create an image object. Image img, I guess, equals null for right now. Otherwise, the editor screams at me because we didn't set the object. So, okay, fine, I'll set it to a null for right now. And in case 1, I'm going to set img equal to properties dot resources dot, I guess, ace of clubs. I think that's what I use, designate this, ace of clubs. Okay, perfect. And then break. And in case 2, img is going to be properties dot resources, dot, I guess, ace of diamonds is next. And then break. In case 3, image img equals properties dot resources dot ace of hearts, and then break. And the last one, case 4, img equals properties dot resources dot ace of spades, and then break, and then return this image. So based on what ID is associated, this array is going to kind of be our shadow array. It's going to shadow our picture box array. So based on what number is stored there, that's going to be the image we're going to display into cards i.image. Okay, so clicked on card. So let's go ahead and sort of first, I'm going to get the sender sort of, actually, I don't even worry about that. Oh yeah, yes I do. So I'm going to have to get the sender. I'm going to typecast the sender. So picture box. I'm going to call it a picture clicked equals picture box sender. So we're going to store the reference of what object was clicked. So which picture box was clicked? Well, picture clicked, this image, this variable is going to know which image was clicked. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do the following. I'm just going to simply just go ahead and say, well, I'm going to have it as, let's see here, picture box, oh, sorry, picture clicked dot image equals to get card by ID. We have to actually first know which image was actually clicked. So I'm going to do the following. I'm going to go ahead and do some trick here. So I'm going to say string. Actually, I'm going to get the int index, sorry, equals to picture clicked dot name. I'm going to get the name of this image that was clicked. So right now, if I clicked on this, then picture box 1 is going to be the sender's name. Click on this, then picture box 2 will be the sender's name, and so forth. So I want to know what's the sender object's name. So I'm going to get the name of it, and of course dot toString. I don't know why it's not letting me do that. ToString, or what's the it's supposed to be just toString. Hold on, toString. Okay, there it is. Okay, I don't know why I was messing up earlier. So we're going to get the name of which one was actually clicked. So then we have to go ahead and extract the sort of the index out of it. But I'm going to first actually just go ahead and create a string variable out of this first, just so we can see what's sort of happening here. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to say message box dot show name. So I want to know which sender was actually sort of clicked. Now, just like from last week with the tic-tac-toe game, what I could do is go back over here, go to my image, and select this right there, and then choose a function for clicked. That would work, but this might be very tedious, especially if you're going to have 20 of these. This is going to be a very slow process. So there's actually, luckily, another way we can do this using actual code, using a loop. So I'm going to go back to my form load, and after I set all of these, I'm going to have another loop and do the following. Let me just look at my code here, make sure I don't mess this up. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to say for int I equals 0, I less than 4, I plus plus. So cards I dot click, then plus equal clicked on card. Oops. Why did it do that? Okay. Clicked on card. This is going to basically take this function clicked on card, and it's going to add it to every every picture box's click event. So instead of having to go through the editor and manually do it like this method is much better. So if you have, let's say, 20 of these, this is going to easily scale itself that size. This is going to essentially add this function, this lambda, to the click event field. So that way, when card 0 is clicked, it's going to call this function. When card 1 is clicked, this function, and so forth. So now we have that set up. Let's go ahead now and test out this function. So let's go ahead and hope this actually works. So I'm going to go over here. I click on if a picture box is clicked, it'll call this function. I'm going to simply just reveal what name of which picture box was clicked. Let's go ahead and test this out. Hit start. Picture box 1, picture box 2, picture box 3, picture box 4. So it looks like it is working. So if I click on any of these, it will automatically trigger that event. And so far our event only just displays what's the name of the picture box. Now we're going to go ahead and do some more work with this. All right, so let's go ahead and close this. Let's try, let's just go ahead and actually add more functionality to this. So, okay, we have everything working so far, but now we have to make sure that we want to maybe turn the card whenever an image was selected. So I'm going to just go ahead and remove all this. We don't need this anymore because we already know that this is definitely working. I guess I could just maybe have a comment here, just kind of FYI, I suppose I'll leave that there in case you want to still have that. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to I have to figure out which sort of picture was clicked. I have to index it in my array somewhere. So I want to go ahead and get the index of so for example here, I clicked on picture box 1. I want to go to my cards index 0. I have to go to that index 0 of my cards array. So I have to sort of extract the index out. Luckily, the name all has a number at the very end. The last character will be a number. So it makes this process very easy for me to actually extract it. So I'm going to now go ahead and once again just say picture clicked dot name dot to string, like that. I guess I'll store it into my string variable here. I guess I ended up doing the same thing as before. That's fine though. So now I want to go ahead and an int index is going to be name at index name dot length -1, which will be a single character, and then of course I'll say int dot parse to convert that into integer. Of course, other ways we can do this as well, but this way is definitely going to work. And let's see why it's not working. I think maybe this is not going to work, this function. That's weird. Let's try this then. Okay, so like that. So I guess the deal is that name.length -1 returns a character at the very end. And this is actually a trick you learn in, if you take CS 218, it's a trick where how do you convert from a character to integer. So what will happen is this is going to extract the last character in the string. So for example, if I say I have a sender is going to be picture box 4, then that code where I say name bracket name.length -1 is going to extract the character 4 out of that string. So to convert from character 4 to integer 4, I subtracted by the character 0, and then I'm going to subtract it by 1 because this has it where it's picture box 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have to correctly offset that to 0, 1, 2, and 3. So I subtracted by 1 at the end like that. So now I know what index I clicked on. So I'm going to now go ahead and say, well, I'm going to have cards, I guess, index dot image equals get card by ID. I'm going to pass in card IDs, or card ID, sorry, at index. So this card ID is going to basically contain 1, 2, 3, or 4. And it's going to tell me, it's going to contain a character, an index number, ID number of the card. I pass that ID number, 1, 2, 3, or 4, which is whatever's stored in this array. So card index 0 could contain 1, and in this case, actually, card index 0 contains 1, card index 1 contains 2, and so forth. We pass in that ID here. And based on the ID, based on what's stored in card ID index, it's going to return the appropriate image back to us. I'm going to assign this image to to my form. I'm going to assign that in picture box's image to be whatever this card, whatever this function returns back to me. Let's go ahead and test it out. It's kind of hard to explain all this, but you definitely want to use this code as like a starting point for sure for this memory game. So I'm going to now click start. Let's see what we get over here. I'm going to click on this. Awesome. So it definitely seems to be working. So it sort of has our cards like this. So now I'll do one last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have it wait for 2 seconds and then sort of turn the card back to its to the back of the card. So once we'll do that, then I'll sort of talk about the lab in a whole, talk about how you want to actually approach this lab. Let's first go over how to get that to work correctly for us. How to get the card to sort of turn over after 2 seconds. All right, so now let's go ahead and close this and let's add that feature to this program. So what this does is, okay, so it's nice. It's going to sort of, it's going to display the image, but I want to go ahead and turn the card back over after a certain amount of time. The simplest way to make this work is we're going to use the following function, which is actually in the handout. I'm going to say the following. So it's going to be await task.delay, and I'll put say 2000. So it's going to be how many microseconds I want to wait. So 2000 microseconds would be 2 seconds. Now we have this problem right here. We have this sort of error part, which means we have to actually add something to our function. So this function, we have to go ahead and put async, right? Let's see, where does it go? Right before the void part. So I have to put in async over there. So this function is going to basically allow us to pause the program, but asynchronously, which means that the rest of the actual form will still be functional while it's pausing on this function. So I'm going to go ahead and just delay it for maybe I'll even use 3 seconds just to, maybe I'll use 5 seconds actually, just so we can really see what's going on. So 5,000 microseconds. And I'm going to then say cards at index dot image. I'm going to set it back to get card by ID. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm just going to say properties. Properties dot resources. Oops. Dot resources. Dot. I'm going to select this red back like this. So that's really all there is to it. So we flip the card, wait 5 seconds, and then turn the card back over. That's all we're doing right now. Let's click on start and see what happens. I'm going to display the cards. I'm going to click, wait about a few seconds, then it will turn it. So that was a long gap. It was 5 seconds though. Okay, cool. Now the problem is I go ahead and click on these, it's going to flip all of them. And then it's going to all sort of turn over after the respective, so 5 seconds after they were clicked, which is okay. I mean, we could have it clicked here and then we can click there. So that's nice. But what we want to do is, well, it would be nice actually to disable all the buttons in the meantime, because we don't really want to have it where we don't want to be able to click on another one right away. We want to sort of, so let's say for example, an memory game, when there's 2 cards being displayed, I want them to pause so the user can see the actual cards, but not make the other cards clickable. So all you have to do is in between. So I'm not going to write this. You can kind of, let you think about this. So before you do this await task, you want to disable all the cards. So go to cards index. So using a for loop, I equals 0, I less than 4, cards index dot enabled equals false. And once the task, once this 5 seconds is done, then just re-enable all the cards is the better idea. So that's the basics of how we actually use image boxes. So of course, picture boxes. I don't know why I keep saying image box. I don't know. Seems to be a better term, not picture box, but that's how they call it here in C#.net. So you're going to have to do obviously more work because you're going to have maybe a 2-dimensional array of picture boxes, and you want to also label your cards accordingly. So for example, in the application I had, I'll show this one, but you would have maybe several rows of these. So you want to have picture box 1 1, 1 2, 1 3, 1 4, then maybe 2 1, 2 2. You want to have those kind of the row and column indices, so you can very easily extract those last 2 digits out of the name of the picture box, so you know exactly which picture box was clicked on, so you know what image to add to your sort of program. So one thing I'll do now is I'm going to also make this random as well, just so I can teach you how to use a random number generator. But really, that's going to be really the basic part. Of course, you're going to have to use several arrays you're going to have to use actually to make sure you know which button was currently, what was the last button that was. So you want to also know which card is currently flipped over. You want to also be able to store if it's the first card turn, a second card turn, and so forth. So in that PDF write-up, it has all that content there. This was just to kind of show you how to set up this program, but really that's about the UI part is this. In the coding part, you have to have several arrays. And you're going to have to always know which card has which ID. So based on its ID, you know what card to reveal when it's clicked. So for my version, I have 1 through 10. So I use several face cards, I use a couple of number cards, and I label, I just doesn't matter which one you use for what number. I use 1 for deuce, for 2 of spades, I used ID 2 for 3 of spades, and so forth. So I use those, I picked any 10 cards, and I had to sort of duplicate them in 2 spots on my board. So I had to sort of, you know, pick pick a number randomly, and assign them to 2 spots, to 2 elements in my 2-dimensional ID array. And yeah, and then of course, then I would sort of just, you know, do the same process like I'm doing here, except it's not a 1-dimensional array. So of course, this might require a lot more work than just a 1 lab session. Of course, during the lab, I can give out some help if needed, if let's say we're struggling a lot on this. I mean, but this might take more than 1 session. This could be the last lab we're going to do, potentially, based on what's going on. But let's go ahead now, I kind of trailed off there for a second, but let's go ahead and now go into how to randomly assign an ID to each card, and then we'll go ahead and sort of stop, and this video will be done. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and use a random number generator. So in C#, it's relatively simple. So we're going to have our object called random, call it rand, and it equals new random. This is going to allow us to use a random number generator in our program. And then what I'm going to do, actually it's the wrong spot. I want to put this into my form load, my mistake. Or actually I can put it into my button click, my mistake, wrong spot. I'm going to put it up here in my BTN start click. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and instead of assigning card ID just to be I+1 like this, I'm going to assign some random number. Now, there's a chance that in this version we could have duplicates in our sort of on our board. But that's okay though. I just want to, of course, you can write code to handle duplicates. I mean, here's actually one way I did this. So here's the simplest way to avoid duplicates. So we're going to basically just set the card ID with a number to 1 through 4, and then I'm going to just swap the indices or swap the numbers around. So I'm going to have a loop, maybe go from for int I equals 0, I less than 20, I plus plus. I'm going to pick an I, which will just be essentially rand, and that's what's the actual function. It's a little different in C# than C++. So rand dot next, and I'm just going to go ahead and just say 4. This is going to basically pick a number between 0 through 3. So from 0 and then less than 1 less than 4. So that's how we're going to pick a number. So from 0 through 3 will be assigned to I. Oops, I should probably pick a different one. I'll probably just use X instead. And then I'm going to say int Y equals rand dot next 4. I'm going to go ahead and swap these two. So I'm going to say int temp equals card ID index X, and then card ID X equals card ID Y, and then card ID Y equals temp. This is the standard way of swapping elements. So this is gonna swap whatever is in card ID X with whatever's in Y. We'll swap these two. We're going to do this 20 times, so it's going to kind of shuffle the cards around a little bit. Let's go ahead and test this out. So ace of spades over there, ace of clubs, like that. Okay, so, well, I guess I still have to fix that part. If I hit start again, it'll reset everything. Now it's ace of diamonds. If I hit start, now it's ace of spades. So this kind of allows us, so we swap the IDs around in our array. So then when we go ahead and click on the card, based on the ID stored in card ID, we have several of these arrays which will be kind of parallel arrays in a sense we're using. So you're having all these arrays that are used together, and the index is going to sort of help us sort of map sort of an ID and be able to extract the card image and then store that into the picture box. So there's a lot of stuff in this video, in this lab, but of course the graders and myself will be available for help, and we can give out some hints and tips here and there as we move along. This will definitely be more than one, definitely a couple of lab sessions we'll spend on this one. So I guess that's the video for right now. So thanks for watching, and till next time.